Hello everybody and welcome back, and after a couple of reviews over the last couple of days, you know what time it is. It's time for a PSVR2 news recap. These are becoming more frequent on the channel as news is rolled out throughout the month, and usually I just do a video at the start of the month saying what new games are coming, but a load of stuff gets revealed month after month in the middle of the month and I never really talk about it aside from big news points. So these videos kind of let me condense them all into one. Before we jump in and take a look at the multiple announcements that we've got over the last week or so, we have just reached 10k and we're trying to get to our next goal of 20. So if you'd like to help out and support the channel, feel free to subscribe. Anyway, let's kick things off with the Phasmophobia announcement. We got that in the last week. The console port is coming around the Halloween event. This was a little bit before the actual date of Halloween last year, so it'll probably be the same this year. Over that period, we will be getting both Phasmophobia and also Wanderer the Fragments of Fate, since it has been hit with a delay. But Phasmophobia, they're still on board with VR, it seems. They did mention it in the blog post that they put out on Steam, that VR is going to be cross-play and completely, work fine. They talked about multiple VR platforms, so PSVR2, in my opinion, seems to be on the table as it always has been. And I'm very excited for this co-op ghost hunting experience. I think it's going to be really fun with friends. So that's coming around October 31st, around that time period. We also got the announcement that D-Day Enhanced, the Battlefield-like PSVR2 Quest and Steam VR shooter, is getting a permanent price reduction down to just £5 or dollars. I think that's a very good thing. The one thing that the game's really struggled with since its launch is retaining that big player count that it needs for its big battles, and hopefully this price reduction will encourage some new players to jump in and take a look at the game, because it has quite a lot of content and is a load of fun, especially when you've got those big lobbies going on. So if you are waiting for D-Day to go down in price, there it is. Over the last week, we also got the news that Zenith has been sunsetted. That means that the MMORPG is no longer going to get any more updates, but the servers will stay up. Ramen VR have been operating almost at a loss basically over the last couple of months to year, and they tried their hand at the free-to-play model with Infinite Realms, but it didn't quite work out. So they're cutting their losses and moving on to other projects. Luckily, the studio isn't going under, but it is a bit of a sore look for a lot of the people who spent good money on cosmetics, items, and perks for a game that no longer will get supported. I myself have enjoyed Zenith from time to time. I've never really got too invested into it, and I suppose that's a good thing now, but man, it feels bad for other people who spent money, especially on the Patreon and Kickstarter for this game, and will have to wait for Ramen VR's future projects to get any meaningful return on that investment. BHaptics Support also rolled around this week with 4 games natively supporting it, meaning that, say in Legendary Tales, for an example, if you get stabbed in the upper right shoulder, you'll feel it there with your haptic suits. These suits are very pricey, but for the people who want to be fully immersed in their games, Gran Turismo 7 would be one for me that I would absolutely love to have a BHaptics suit for. They can jump in and play around with that. Every other game on the platform and even movies will have non-native support, meaning that the sound will be converted into rumbles in the vest, but the 4 native games will utilize precise tracking and different areas of the suit to trigger an effect, for example in breaches if you get shot in a certain area. That's exciting for people that have them, but again, it's quite a high up piece of hardware for the PSVR2. Arken Age also got a very much needed update since it's been quiet for a little while, and I didn't expect to get an update on it so soon though, pertaining to its actual release date and announcement. They detailed that it's got a 10 to 15 hour story driven campaign with a platinum trophy of course, so a fair bit of content to go through here. Dynamic eye tracked foveated rendering was a must, and they've luckily got that implemented into the game, so it should look great. Eye tracking is used for things like throwable weapons, like there's a throwable axe that will use eye tracking for targeting enemies, which seems really cool, kind of God of War style. The sniper scope in the game will activate on you blinking as well, which is interesting. The game will run at 90Hz unreprojected, which is also music to my ears, with full use of adaptive triggers. They're aiming for a very replayable but fairly long game if you just play it through one time, and also are offering the option for 60 FPS at 120 reprojected if you want to, and if Sony approves that feature. I've seen this feature in multiple development and review builds in the past. One of them was Legendary Tales, where you could toggle the refresh rate and you can also toggle foveated rendering, but these didn't make it into the final game, so it'll be interesting to see whether Sony approves that for Arken Age. Speaking of approval, final PC testing is underway, and once it's approved by Sony, they'll begin the PSVR2 final testing, and after that, the release date will be coming fairly soon past that point. Arken Age is shaping up to be a very, very cool looking PSVR2 story-driven combat game that I'm going to be really looking forward to getting my hands on later this year. It's one that slipped under the radar a little bit for me in terms of my hype levels, so if it ends up being a surprise hit like Legendary Tales, I'm all for it. And finally, Aces of Thunder came around with another announcement. The game is not dead, it has not been shelved, and is aiming for a Q4 2024 release date. They've also announced that a Steam VR version is also on the way, and you can now wishlist it on the PlayStation Store. They also released a flashy new trailer, showcasing the different theatres of war and also confirming that there are solo missions in the game. So if you're not a fan of multiplayer battles, there will be content for you in Aces of Thunder if you're not into that sort of thing. That's also music to my ears, because if I buy the game, if I play it and enjoy the multiplayer, but it dies down after a while and not many people are playing it, say in a year's time, I will still have value and worth in the single player experience. Like say Ace Combat 7 had its VR missions, it will be similar here, I think, and that's a very positive sign for me. They've taken that feedback on board that people would like a single player aspect, and they're putting it in here. Anyway, that will do us for today, recapping the PSVR2 news over the last couple of days. And of course, even though we covered it in depth last week, the big piece of news have been Sony's outspoken nature about Wanderer, Metro, and Frenzies. With the Wanderer delay is unfortunate, but it lines up with Phasmo, so we're going to be eating very, very good on PSVR2 in October. And I think a leaked release date for Behemoth from one of the PlayStation accounts pointed to an October release date for Behemoth as well, but that's not set in stone, I'd imagine, but we'll see. Either way, October is going to be amazing, and I'm really looking forward to all the games coming around at the end of this year. Things always hype up and ramp up after, August-ish. And onwards from that point, it's going to be non-stop. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going to be very exhausted with the amount of stuff to tackle over in those time periods, but it's all excitement from here on out. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you to our patrons and YouTube members: Luke Bentley, Phil Irving, Hazit Mirza, Ace Gamer, Hippie Pickle, Jin007, A License to Chill, Sun WTF, Piosco, and Fat Controllers. If you would like to join the Patreon or YouTube membership, all those links are down below, and if you do, you'll get shouted out every video like those lovely people just did, and also get an extra video every month in a more podcasty style, where I talk about everything that's happened over the last month or so in virtual reality, and also just the YouTube space in general. Thank you for watching once again, and I'll see you all in the next one.